So what I sent in VC No Mike is the European's 18Z shear forecast model, and I wanted your opinion on one area of wind shear that I'm paying attention to. One of the area of wind shear that I'm taking a look at is the area northwest of the area of interest, about I'd say 3 days out from there. If you take a look at that and move it that far out, what are your thoughts on kind of the angle and kind of how the shear is looking at this point? How do you think this could affect tropical development at that current stage?
It looks like it looks like an upper low actually developing.
Yeah, I've
north of Puerto Rico, and then that's very interesting.
all right.
I don't know actually.
Yeah, I just thought I'd ask.
Apologize. I have not looked at the models ever since Debbie decided to show.
Yeah, I understand. That's completely understandable due to obvious reasons. But
of course, it depends on shear angles can help brief outflow for tropical systems.
Yep.
We saw that during Barrel. So, what the biggest question would be is not if there's any shear, but what angle is it, and how close is if it organizes the center of circulation when it eventually forms is to the area where the wind shear is happening. Because if it's not getting sheared, and then that wind shear angle from the upper level low is helping it breathe, it's helping its outflow, then it can definitely organize and use its warm waters to an advantage. And another thing that I don't even talked about yet is, let's see, Atlantic dust.
What's up?
Saharan dust forecast. Let me check.
Oh yeah, the Sahara dust. That's one thing I was looking at earlier today.
But the thing is that when a storm is starting to people, you don't really want. You wanted to organize, and then depending on where the wind shear is.
You're cutting out, Tristan, by the way.
Oh, I'm cutting out? Oops.
Yeah.
Is that better?
Yeah, that's better.
Yeah, that's better. Okay. There is some Saharan dust still, so if the shear is really in a bad angle, this system really won't have a chance to fight the dry air because it's not wind shear by itself, depending on the strength. A lot of the time, tropical systems die from a combo of dry air and wind shear. It's never really one or the other unless it's really tough on it, or unless it has a very unique angle to the system.
All right.
As it develops.
Okay. Yeah, I'm looking at. I thought that was kind of interesting as well. There's still some Sahara dust in the Atlantic right now. That's usually corrects itself and it gets blocked out by the end of August. So overall, what are your overall? And this is an open-ended question for everybody in here. What are your overall thoughts of kind of how we're seeing the ensembles? Because a lot of these models have been screaming that this thing is potentially developing. Like I have the 18Z European ensembles pulled up. The vast majority of these concentrated are over the Lesser Antilles, Puerto Rico, and some have it over Hispaniola, some of which have it stronger than a lot of the other previous runs do. So what is your overall take on all these models that we're seeing just screaming that something's about to happen?
I would like to say, for people in the Caribbean, as we always say, you should have your hurricane preparation.
Yes.
You should be always ready for in this time of year. The thing that a lot of people don't do is wait until the center of circulation forms. Until we have that center, and until we know where the upper level low is going to be, we can't tell you the strength. Could the models be having a bias with the time of year, how warm the waters are? They could, but you should be ready for any range of a storm, any time of year in the tropics, especially during this time of year. So, no matter what the models show, you should be paying attention and knowing what to do.
All right. Anybody else?
Yeah, I'll just make a quick.
Go ahead, Brendan.
Here. I know somebody else that wants to jump in. I would actually. Is there somebody hot micing right now?
It's
Is
Sunny.
that?
I'm good. Yes. Hey, Sunny, could you, if you're not going to be, if you're not going to be speaking for the time being, we're hearing background
Yeah.
noise from you. Okay. Thank you
I'll
for
take care of it
muting.
now.
I
Yeah,
appreciate
yeah.
that.
So, yeah. So just a comment to bounce off of what Tristan said. Look, I think I would tend to disagree, Tristan, on sort of the bias part. That the models could be biased towards getting towards the peak of the season. And look, I think a lot of the ingredients right now are coming together. We talked just now about the Saharan dust. The amplitude of that Sahara dust is what's critical. We've seen that
Yeah.
decrease contrast to what we saw all throughout July, which pretty much correlates to what we typically would see climatologically with Sahara dust. Right around middle of August, early September is typically when we do see that begin to somewhat subside in amplitude. So that's number one. Number two, with this area of high pressure out in the Atlantic, sort of a retrograding of that mid level ridge eastward would essentially promote additional convergence out in the Atlantic basin. Also, combine that with a pretty good parameter space that doesn't have a lot of shear intruding on the convection for the most part. Shear tendency is actually pretty decent. So we certainly are going to be looking at development. Tristan, I do want to say though, and I'm certainly not disagreeing with my friend Tristan completely, because one thing he is correct about is that we really are talking in the hypothetical. We don't have anything right now that we can concretely say is a low pressure. It's a lot of open wave convection and some clustering we're seeing. Not anything substantial as of yet. But I think the important thing that people have to take away from this is that the promotion and the repositioning of that high pressure in the Atlantic, coupled with a subsiding of the stronger amplitude Saharan dust and a decreasing of wind shear, is creating an environment that will be conducive for development. And that's exactly why the National Hurricane Center continues to up its probabilities for 7-day development near the Lesser Antilles just today. Right? We've seen that actually increase over the last several hours. So confidence continues to grow. But I will say it's better to be prepared than sorry. Folks in the Lesser Antilles need to definitely be mindful of this. And for folks in the United States that may be quick to jump to conclusions on what we're looking at, just know there's not anything just yet, but you certainly want to keep a very close eye on the Atlantic basin here over the next couple of weeks, because things could get really interesting.